Hey, what's going on? This is Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow. This is Peter. What's going on? Perry, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Fresh week, back in Queens again. But
Yeah.
At least, a spot I know to be good.
Yeah, I got you coming up to Queens often lately. And we're here at Station House, the best craft beer bar in Forest Hills, one of the best here in Queens. And we have two very special guests with us. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Adam Hayes. I'm the buyer for Forest Hill Station House.
I am Adam Zuniga, the regional sales manager for Lord Hobo Brewing Company. Happy to be having an event at Station House tonight.
Thank you for coming out.
I also host a passion project of mine called the Six Most Metal Breweries, a show about craft beer and heavy metal, which also finds a home here at Station House.
Does indeed, and does indeed. We love some metal around here.
So tell us a little bit more about, before we get into today's event, tell us a little bit more about that passion project.
The Six Most Metal Breweries, it is meant to be a six-part series that highlights the relationship, the distinct connection between craft beer and heavy metal. We made a collaboration brew with Kings County Brewers Collective in Bushwick here in the city and launched it at St. Vitus Bar. And we have just found, whatever the reason, like the band didn't work out, the brewers are fans of heavy metal. We see a lot of breweries around the country incorporating this interest, this passion, this energy, this aggression into their beer and their branding, and we are shining a light on it. And it was frankly my way into craft beer sales because I quickly realized that people on one side of the bar or the other, one side of the bar or the other, are often heavy metal fans, much like Adam Hayes here.
Absolutely.
So, some reps would do sports bars, some might do Irish bars. I made it a point to do metal bars. And it was really my way into this industry in New York City.
Wow, that's awesome. So now, tell us a little bit about the event that you got going on here. I know, Lord Hobo, you got a couple of beers on tap. Can you tell us what's going on?
So for Lord Hobo, we are fresh from Boston. We're relatively new to New York City. Adam at Station House was really the first to welcome us to New York City. He threw a mystery event before our kegs had even been formally announced here. And he's welcoming us back tonight for the Hobo Challenge, which is basically kind of a head-to-head competition for our double IPAs, Virtuoso at 8.8% and Consolation Prize, the reigning champion, at 9.5%. So we're putting the two IPAs side by side along with a session wheat beer, or session by comparison, called Angelica. It's a hoppy, hazy, unfiltered wheat. That's the reward for anyone who survives Virtuoso and Consolation.
Very, very nice. And now, just getting back into Station House, so can you tell us a little bit about the history and philosophy of Station House and how you guys approach your beer?
So in terms of what we do as a day-to-day project, we're not just a craft beer bar. We do specialize in craft beer, but we also specialize in, we have like over 150 whiskeys for you to try. We have our own house-made specialty cocktails, over 20 of those as well. And then obviously our gastro-style pub food. So we can offer a lot to pretty much anyone who wants to come into the bar. Like, hey, you want to bring in your significant other, you want to have a little date night, you want to come with a bunch of friends, there's plenty for you to drink and eat here. It doesn't just have to be craft beer, it can be some awesome whiskeys here as well. But we're basically just like a bunch of nerds. Like, I'm the beer nerd here, the GM, he's like the whiskey and the cocktail nerd. We've got a couple of nerds back in the kitchen. The owner, proprietor Steve, he's worked in the kitchen industry a long time before he opened this place up, and he's also a resident, born and bred in Forest Hills as well. So it's more of a case of just Forest Hills, Station House giving back to the community. We love our locals, pretty much every other bar does around the area. So we're just trying to give back to make our experience here enjoyable for everyone who comes along.
Right on. And I noticed in the whiskey menu, you even have a section for nerds that's literally on the menu.
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. There's some randomly rare. We try and give you the basics. Bourbon is bourbon, rye is rye. We'll give you malts from across the world, and then anything which doesn't really fall into those categories is more or less a nerdy kind of whiskey. So High West, they're not really a through and through bourbon or rye distillery. They like fucking around and mixing stuff. So Son of Boo Rye is a blend of a bourbon and a rye. So that's why you get things like that, and then some other weird stuff or some sort of specialty single malt stuff as well, which we'll put into that section. So we're definitely a big bunch of nerds around here. From the front of house to the back of house, everyone enjoys the experience when the off shift, shall we say.
Very, very cool. And so now, how did you come to work at this fine establishment?
Oh, it's a longish story. I used to work at Union Beer about 4.5 years ago. I was a sales rep in Midtown Manhattan, And basically, my passion for craft beer before that got me the position at Union. I've been into craft beer for a long time now. Before we even coined the term craft beer, I think my first year at university back in 1997, back in England, was really my year of like, hey, I'm going out getting wasted most nights like you do when you're at university. First year I was like drinking whatever beer was available, and I was waking up in the morning feeling like fucking shit. I'm like, I don't do this anymore. So I was like, I want to drink something that tastes nice. I'm wasting all my money on something which is disgusting, and I'm waking up feeling like a piece of shit. So I was like, hey, why not like go out there and drink something nice?
Yeah.
So back in 1998, there wasn't really craft beer. It's more of like what we could find locally, whether that was real ale, whether that was like German or Belgian style beers. So really, then I was falling in love with German pilsners, Belgian sours, Belgian wheat beers as well. And then obviously, traditional English styles from a porter, some old school stouts, all the classics, what we know as classics now. That's really what got me started. And then I moved over here 11 years ago, and obviously the craft beer scene was slowly booming. And sort of like, that was basically just like, I picked it up immediately and then I fell in love. And that's how it came to be.
Oh, wow. Very, very interesting. So when you came here, I know it was 11 years ago, was there a particular brewery or a particular craft beer that kind of got you into the American craft beer scene?
Particular craft brewery out here, you'd have to start with like Sierra Nevada. Like that's obviously widely available. At that point in time, we were getting like very small amounts of Sierra, I think, every now and again in London. So there's things you've got to pick up, which we know is like some of the original entrepreneurs from the craft beer industry in America who'd make it out there, and like that sort of like tickle my taste buds, shall we say, in terms of like what we have over here now. So when I first arrived, like it was the brands like Sierra, Lagunitas, Rogue, all those guys sort of like making like the what we could get our hands on more readily in bars and in bottle shops. And then every now and again, you'd be like, okay, like when Firestone came on the scene, that exploded. Like people were going crazy for that. Like people were going crazy for all the new brands anyway. So that's pretty much sort of like where I sort of picked up American craft beer from when I originally landed here.
Right on. So what's your kind of own personal philosophy when you approach the beer buying here?
So we're a bar for everyone, especially our locals. So we can't just have crazy hot bombs, and we can't just have like crazy acidic sour beer. We have to have like a balance, and I like to keep a balanced approach to the menu. So we only have 16 draft lines, and that really gives me not a limited scope, but it gives me a scope where I can balance out our menu. So we have right now we have 2 double IPAs on tap, an IPA, a wheat beer, a saison, a pilsner, a light lager, which is normally a Kolsch line, imperial stout, and nitro beer, a cider. There's plenty for everyone. It's something a little fruity as well. Nice, sexy little fruited sour from Single Cut, which they gave us, which is quite delicious, I think. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I'm definitely liking it.
Yeah, and obviously we got a seasonal line, so we have a delicious Oktoberfest, which I'm drinking right now from Hofstein. Got a really beautiful, unfiltered. I think it's like one of the original recipes from Munich, apparently, from what the guys at Be United say. So shout out to Michael from Be United for hooking me up with this one. It's delicious.
Yeah, shout out to Michael. And now you guys also have cans, you have bottles, and you have some rare, like, what you call rare and exclusive kind of beers as well, right?
Yeah, we try and keep. Obviously, draft is pretty much where your margin's going to be made, and that's obviously fully rotating. So we make our margin there, and we have just a small selection of canned and bottled beer in terms of our regular menu. So if no one's really feeling the draft, and they can have access to some basic items like a wheat beer, a pilsner, a stout, things like that. And then we got some random ass crazy stuff which people look out sometimes and like, hey, what's this? And I'm like, oh, why is it so expensive? Because one, it costs a lot of money to make, it takes a long time to make, and 3, it's sometimes really rare as well. So I think we had we still got that JW Lee's on, I can't remember. I think there may be 1 or 2 bottles left downstairs. It's a 2013 Lagavulin cask, JW's Harvest Ale.
Wow.
So yeah, things like that. I'll just squirrel away, and when one goes, the next one comes online.
Right, right on. Adam, for you, what was your kind of initial introduction to the craft beer scene? I know you mentioned with the whole project you're getting into, but before that, was there a particular beer, a brewery that kind of put you onto the whole craft beer phenomena?
So I've been in New York City for about 10, 12 years now. Halfway in between, I tried my luck in Los Angeles, and I was not a fan. I came crying back to New York, man. I could not relate to it as a city. Lost in the desert. But while I was there, I got kind of heavily involved and invested in the craft beer culture, the community that was established in California at the time. There's a few I could cite, but Stone really kind of drove home the West Coast, the hop craze, like the filtered, refined West Coast style IPA. And as a result, I came back to New York City to kind of see what I could do with it.
Right.
What was an established industry there at the time was just on the rise in New York. So I kind of packed up from LA. I started my Cicerone certification. I moved back to New York City. I started working in beer retail and have worked for a number of breweries since, and really been a privilege to be a part of the craft explosion that's taken place in New York City, really over the last, I want to say 5 years in particular.
Yeah.
This town, we're going to probably one of the most difficult spots to own and operate a brewery, is now leading the charge for craft beer among cities in the United States. And the bar culture keeps getting better and better, which is why I continue to come to spots like Station House, because I know I can trust them, rely on them. There's never going to be a dud on tap. There is always going to be a lot of thought behind anything that's on tap, and I'm always happy to work my way through the draft list, man.
Cool. And now, how did you come to get affiliated with Lord Hobo?
With Lord Hobo, I kind of took some time off to reconnect with what led me to beer in the first place, the passion, the enthusiasm, the interest, the education behind it. And as soon as I was looking to get back to reality, Hobo was looking to launch in New York City. So we are here as of May, basically, this year. They created a role for me, basically managing sales for the region, overseeing New York City along with New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And I think just given the current state of choice in the market, just the wealth of breweries, everyone wants a moment on the New York City stage. I could not resist the opportunity to launch a brand here from scratch. To take something that was absolutely brand new in one of the most competitive categories, which is, of course, is IPA.
Yeah.
And just to basically lead the charge here in New York with it.
So now, as Hobo, is there a particular staple beer that you guys are really pushing, or is just a series of beers under the IPA style?
So Boom Sauce is the flagship Northeast New England style IPA. The name really sells it, but we believe that the taste drives people back. Everything, like I keep saying, is kind of in the hazy, the hoppy, the unfiltered category. We're all hop heads, there are far worse addictions, and hops are one we are proud of.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And now, and when you're selecting and setting up these tap takeovers, first of all, how often do you do them, and kind of, do you just do it by preference, or just, how do those relationships kind of come to fruition?
It's interesting. Sometimes, we used to do one every week, and then I was because it feels pressured, and I'm just putting something together for the sake of putting something together. Now it's mainly every other week or once a month, depending on how busy we are. Also, what I've got in the cellar, what people are going to come out with. Every now and again we'll get a new brewery release will come in, or literally a new brewery launching as well. That's back in May, I snuck a few kegs out of Union, and Adam let me do a mystery night. Very, very kind of him.
That's cool.
But yeah, it really is contacts, people keeping relationships with other breweries who aren't necessarily local breweries as well. So if you can keep an eye on, one, their social media, two, any releases that that they may or may not be coming out with that we might or might not be able to get over here. Sometimes it's a case of just reaching out to them directly and say, hey, is there any chance that we can get that over here, or is that only going to stay in your hometown market? So it really does depend on a variety of factors, and then I've just got to pull them together and make a decision on when those events happen and put it in a schedule. Hopefully it all fits together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys said it's not really on a set schedule. Do you do any other types of events here beyond just the tap takeovers? You guys have any other things going on?
It depends. Every now and again, we may have a theme behind it. It's more of a case for me. I'm not really fussed about a theme. Sometimes it's cool if it is, but I'm more concerned primarily about the beer that's going to be poured.
Yeah.
I still want to keep a balance. Yeah, if certain breweries lean more to the hoppy side, I've got no problem with that. We can definitely work with that. But having a balance across the lines, and also giving the people a chance to say hey, this brewery is well known for this style of beer, but also they make good beers from a Pilsner to a lager to a Belgian style ale, not just hoppy beers or gigantic imperial stouts. So it gives them an opportunity to like show how well they've mastered the art of brewing as well.
And now, and as far as the menu goes, do you guys have pairings with beer, or potentially like the whiskey either before, during, or after? Does that come into consideration when putting the menu together?
Every now and again, like we have a weekly special, and depending on, like we used to do daily specials, but it was challenging on the kitchen to like really churn them out at the quality we're used to keeping here. So every now and again, if we find something that's going to be special in terms of what I have on the beer menu, and it's going to work with the flavor profile of the weekly special, then yeah, we'll throw one in the mix every now and again. Whiskey-wise, doesn't really happen very often. Like normally we have our Whiskey Wednesdays where it's $3 off pours or a specific whiskey which has been promoted that week. Not really in terms of what we do on our pairing them together. Like we used to do flights, but we found that we weren't really getting the full flavors on a small flight of whiskeys. I don't do flights here because I don't think it's something that really gives people the opportunity to enjoy a beer. Right. I'd rather them have like a full pour or a half pour if needs be, and then you can enjoy the beer like 16 ounces or a 9 ounce, and that still gives you the full flavor, aroma, and aspect of what the brewer's really looking to portray, rather than just a small 3-4 ounce pour.
And now, so a question for both you guys. I mean, obviously the craft beer scene, we talked about it, it's growing, it's expanding. How do you see the craft beer scene today, and where do you see it kind of going from here?
You want to go first?
Oh.
You do the brewery thing first.
So I'll say two things. From a Lord Hobo point of view, man,
sure.
We are basically trying to scale up what people are typically doing on a small self-distributed scale, and show that like bigger doesn't necessarily have to be bad, man. We want to bring the same quality, authenticity, freshness, and consistency to the market without people having to like wait in line, camp out overnight. I think consumers are generally getting tired of that. I know when you work on this side of the industry, you kind of generally develop the point of view you should never have to wait in line for a beer. So we want quality beer to become more and more accessible because quality beer is not a secret anymore. That said, I do think there is also, from a consumer perspective, just renewed interest in like clean, simple, straightforward flavors, a respect for the history of beer that of course led to the further development of craft beer. I mean, I cannot wait to give like the Oktoberfest a try that Adam is drinking right now, one of the originals.
Delicious.
So I do think, consumers, one, they don't want to have to camp and wait and like buy for beer anymore.
Right.
But two, there is a healthy appreciation for beer that tastes like beer. Not excessive, not overly fruited, not, flavors that ultimately kind of dilute or arguably corrupt like the fundamental elements of what beer should be.
Right on.
That was a lot.
That's good. Yeah,
How'd you follow that?
that was a good answer.
We'll say great minds, man.
Yeah, maybe from like a buying or a bar's perspective. Personally, I just want to keep everything balanced. So I just want to have an opportunity to pour many different styles of beer. The way I see that going forward is, I would like to see breweries like show us what they're really capable of in terms of brewing cleaner beer. So, like, what's wrong with doing like a nice Kolsch, a Pilsner, a Helles, or a lager? Like, it's interesting. Like, I'm more fussed about quality over just quantity of jamming that new beer out into the market every week or for a can release or whatever. Like, not that I'm not going to go out there and support and say hi to the people I know, but like, really, maybe we want to see a turn in like, hey, we can brew all these other styles. That maybe they're money makers, and I know it's difficult for breweries, especially in the local market. Rent in New York City is extremely high in comparison to the Midwest or on the West Coast. So maybe there's always going to have to be like an IPA in the mix, but like something else when they get the space. I would like to see that, and I think people would also want, after you've crushed like a few Imperial IPAs or like haze bombs, you have like a really, like, your palate is kind of, it's blown.
Yeah.
And maybe you want like a nice sour ale, it's going to clean it out, or maybe you want a Pilsner or a Kolsch to really sort of like balance it off as well. Like, especially, I know I crave a lot recently, especially in the heat. I just want a Kolsch. I really just like fucking drinking Kolsch. It's light, it's easy drinking. I still get like that little fruity note that an ale offers, but it gives me a gentle crisp note as well. So Pilsner's culture is what I've been drinking a lot recently. The old barley wine, because everyone knows barley wine is life.
Can't go wrong with barley wine.
Life and death, for that matter. I've never seen anyone pay better attention to their draft lines. And even if everyone is offering like an IPA at any given moment, Adam will say, no, I want a diversity and a wealth of styles, and I want the best craft breweries representing it on the planet right here and now. So you know you can always come here and find like a Kolsch, a lager, a Saison, a sour. You know it's always going to be represented.
Here's that $20 there for saying that as well.
Yeah, we've been to a few bars where they make a point of saying, you know, like, their locals can come in and say, can I just have number 4 because I know that's usually the whatever. And I know I like that even if I don't know anything else about that style or beer.
Yeah.
So, like, having that consistency for people that are just getting into it is awesome.
Yeah, like, we have locals here who, like, they like coming here because they like the atmosphere. It's not so much a sports bar. It's not really not super loud during the week. Maybe on the weekend we get a little loud. But people just come in, like, I know a few locals, all they want to do is they just sit and drink either a Kolsch or a Pilsner, and they know exactly what line number that's going to be, and the bartender's like, cool, I got you, don't worry. So, yeah, I definitely agree. Like, you know, having a little consistency on, like, a breadth and depth of what's going on is always helpful for locals as well as new customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got the live draft system, which is kind of cool, so you can watch the beer and see the quantities that are left. You know, I always thought that was kind of cool.
It's pretty rad. It's I get to fuck around with it at home. I get to fuck around with it here. So I get to keep an eye on it on my phone. Like when I'm not here, I'm like, oh, what's going on this week, or what's going on tonight when I'm not in. So yeah, if I get notifications if kegs kick. I got to keep an eye on like, what am I drinking when I'm in next.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take advantage of the Untapped tie-in.
Yeah.
So knowing, you know, what's out available in the area or wherever I'm going, you know, like instead of like showing up somewhere and going, because some bars, yeah, they have all kinds of crazy stuff, but you're not really interested in any of it, potentially, right? But being able to look that up before you head out is always really awesome.
That's great. That's what I will say, going back to your original, one of your original questions, like how do we see things moving forward in the beer industry? Like social media has become a very for the good and for the detriment of the beer industry to a certain extent. Is definitely something which you have to be on top of, whether it's as a bar or as a brewery as well. I think it's become something which has been it's a powerful tool, and if you can utilize that really well, then I think, you know, the craft beer industry and the bars behind that will do well. You know, we can't all afford macro lager money to like piss off craft breweries when, you know, they're taking a piss out of us. But I'm assuming we're all adult enough to know that they're suffering from our endeavors, and you know, one day, you know, maybe it will be a little bit higher up the food chain than they like.
Yeah.
You have to have an identity, man.
Yeah.
A bar or brewery, you have to be distinct. Good beer first and foremost, but they have to know it's you.
Absolutely. You got to have that brand. I think social media, I agree, it's done a lot of good things and some bad, but it definitely helps establish the breweries. I mean, even just the fans. I mean, you see everyone's trying to trade and get cans. And me personally, I'm not big into the trading for a couple of reasons that we've spoke about in the past, but I do respect that part of it because it's like a subculture of it, and it helps grow the breweries beyond just their state. I mean, now, you know, people are trying to get beers from all over, and, you know, you may not get that distribution. So it's interesting, but you're definitely right. I mean, we talk about it a lot on the show. It's not about, you got to have great beer, but it's also, it's a business. You got to be able to define who and what your business is.
It's a business more than ever, I think. Craft beer is all grown up now.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, everyone wants a moment on the world stage, and that is New York City. It's funny to watch as breweries continue to open, how everyone tries to up their game in terms of social media, marketing, branding, label art, and design, all to establish themselves, again, as like a distinct identity in the market, because that's what you need now. Quality product first and foremost, but a name, a label, an identity that represents it.
What was that fucking Muppet brewery who decided to like make stupid political comments? They're literally like making, they're planned on making their beers after sort of like very sort of aggressive political movements. So I think one of the beer names was like Black Beer Matters, obviously after Black Lives Matter. I was like, holy shit, what are these people fucking doing now? I get like you need to have like an identity, but like I saw that. I was like, that's not the right way to do things.
No, yeah.
No.
But I
Quality
guess
beer first and foremost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess they're just trying to grab some of that, social media buzz. Get that buzz going, and I guess some places they'll figure they'll do whatever they want to try to do to get some of that buzz. Because
I'm not sure if that's buzz. Yeah, buzz, yeah, or stupidity as well. I wasn't really sure what they were doing.
a lot of times, stupid shit gets the buzz. Like people who talk about stupid shit.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting a light buzz going right now. After Constellation Prize and Virtuoso. How is that Virtuoso, man?
Really nice,
Yeah.
really dry. And I have Boom Sauce I've had before. I have never had this brew before. Actually, Boom Sauce is probably, to be honest, the only beer from Lord Hobo that I have had. So excited to be trying some of these new beers tonight.
Well, another this evening. So brace
There you
yourself.
go. There you go. There you go. So now I ask this question to both you guys. Obviously, other than Lord Hobo, what are some of the breweries present day that are impressing you guys? That you guys are excited to see what they're going to come up with next?
I've always been a huge fan since they arrived in New York City of Firestone and Walker. I fell in love with Peebo a long time ago. I think it's everyone knows it's one of the best American-made pilsners.
Yeah.
You can get reasonably well distributed across America. They have a good depth and breadth across their portfolio, whether it's from Buellton to the new location, where they can produce great quality real ales, and also they have an excellent facility and barrel works where they're producing some excellent sour beer as well.
Yeah.
So that for me is in terms of one of the, I wouldn't say older breweries, but they've been around for a lot longer than other new breweries have. They've always impressed me. Another favorite of mine will probably be Burial. It's the same thing. They have such a great philosophy when it comes to beer as well. Tim, their head brewer and owner, his passion towards what he does is, it really comes across when you meet him, and definitely obviously in his beer as well. They have a wonderful program going on in Asheville. And if you haven't been there, please, I'd highly recommend going there. It's a beautiful place. It's a fun place to visit, and the beer there is excellent. Going back to my whole depth of what they do, they love lagers. I love their Kolsch. I love their any Pilsner lager they create. They have excellent ranges of IPAs and stouts. And every now and again, they'll throw out something interesting in terms of a soured beer or a Belgian style as well. So they definitely have, the nous, what they know is going on. Those are really the two that stand out for me. Obviously, a huge fan of True Brewing out in Denver. Very much metalheads. Some super awesome guys. They don't really send their clean beer here, unfortunately. But what they do send in terms of the sours, very rarely, is always impressive. So every now and again, I've been lucky enough to try some of their cleaner stuff, and it's really hit the mark. But again, their attention to detail in what they do with something that they age in their fooders, or if it's on fruit, or something a little bit more experimental, is always impressed as well. And obviously, just because they're metalheads, they sort of really sort of resonates with me as well.
Right on.
I mean, I'm going to second and third all this. I love it that you can come out to Forest Hill Station House and Adam throwing events for Burial and True, or Burial and True together for that matter. I mean, again, talk about a way about working your own personality into the draft lineup here, man. More power to you. On some level, maybe you're asking for a plug for some of our favorites, man. But I mean, KCBC, Kings County Brewers Collective, these are some of my best friends in the industry. But it's not only that, it's that I believe in their beer. To cite, again, the reference to clean, simple, straightforward flavors, traditional styles. KCBC puts out Janiac, Maniac, their Pilsner, man. They make a Strap Hanger, which is a rice-based lager, proving that something like rice, when used correctly, when used in moderation, can make for a quality craft beer. And, of course, they did the Black Lager with us. We called it a Black Pilsner, our collaboration beer between KCBC and St. Vitus Bar. But I think the greater point is, these are good people making good beer. Mm-hmm. Good beer is not exactly a secret anymore, The secret is spread. Anyone who's putting the time and the effort can make quality craft beer now. But you got to have good people behind it. There's no room for assholes in this industry anymore.
Right.
So when you meet someone like KCBC, you want to support them. You want to drink their beer. When you meet someone like Tim from Burial, one of the nicest dudes in the industry that is also putting out a quality product, You know, it is a privilege, a pleasure, and a joy to drink their beer, man.
Yeah.
To represent Burial in New York City, to support them in New York City. So, again, man, I think good beer, first and foremost, good branding, marketing, social media, that's all a part of it, man. Good people is ultimately what's going to continue to sell it and drive it home and have staying power in the market. And these are the people I support. KCBC, Burial, and whoever else.
So now with Lord Hobo, so what's next for you guys? Now you guys started here, said around May. So what's next? What can we expect?
So the big news is the tap room is being renovated, and they're going to throw the doors open come October.
Oh, wow.
I'm hearing it's going to be like very Viking industrial chic. We'll see what form that ultimately takes. It's going to be in the spirit of the Lord Hobo bar, which is in Cambridge, Mass. And I gave Adam like the one can of Pilsner that I had. We're going to try to like diversify a little bit. The brewery is a sight to behold, and I think they're brewing 60-barrel batches on average out there, but they have a 10-barrel system that's allowing them to experiment with the idea of a Pilsner, of a golden ale, of a stout, of a porter. So we have a core group of beers that we are really just trying to own and perfect and kind of drive home, but there are going to be like increasingly diverse styles kind of going into the market, first and foremost in Massachusetts, and if we're lucky, maybe we'll get a taste of it in New York.
Right on. And as far as Station House, so what can we expect, going forward? You guys obviously a staple in the neighborhood, but what else should the audience know about Station House?
I would probably just say you should keep an eye out for our events, whether it's cocktail challenges, whatever we've got going on our Whiskey Wednesdays, or whenever I sling someone up on a board in terms of our beer events. There's always something going on here, like weekly. So it's just a case of like keep up with our social media, and then plan out and coming out. Like in 2 weeks' time, I'll have surprise, surprise, True Brewing. 6 Lines. They're very, very kind to send me some very limited kegs. So we'll have 6 Lines of True Brewing up. A couple of weeks after that, we have Firestone and Family. So it's Firestone Boulevard and Omegang. That'll be some very big beer going on there. I've poured at a few Firestone 6 stills. We'll probably get some cool shit from Omegang and from Boulevard as well. So that's a nice tie into 3 different breweries from those guys. And we'll also, after that, we have our annual, dare I say it, pumpkin event.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you guys like pumpkin beer, please help me fucking drink it. Because I got to do this every year. And I got to do this at our new spot in Astoria. So that's going to be so much fun. 2 Saturdays in a row of crushing pumpkin beer.
Pumpkin beer, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Let's take one for the team.
Yeah, I got to take one for the team. So,
You
Steve,
take a few for the team. You got 2 Saturdays.
Steve, our boss, is the one who does the hard work. He carves out maybe 50 to 100 little sweet pumpkins, and if you want, you can pay for that couple of bucks, and then you can keep that for the rest of the night and pour all your pumpkin beer in there.
Wow.
So yeah, drinking from a little sweet pumpkin is, I know, without adding cinnamon sugar to your rim. Yeah. I know. Try some of that.
I'm not going to say it, man.
October 20th, the Astorian in Astoria, and then October 27th, we'll have some crazy pumpkin stuff going on here as well.
And now, crazy pumpkin stuff aside, but the Astorian is affiliated, correct?
Yeah, so we're a not very well known group of bars. So I would say Bronx Ale House and George Keeley's are probably more well known in terms of their respective boroughs. Station House is probably reasonably well known in terms of Queens and obviously Forest Hills. Yeah. And then the Astoria just opened up in December. Very, very light opening in December. Now the train is back open at 30th Avenue in Astoria. So we're slowly picking up there. But again, I do the beer program. The GM is the same GM here. So if you're looking for a similar sort of, not as far a trek maybe, and you're looking for a similar program, again, the same. We all have the same values at those 2 bars. We want to have great beer, we want to have great whiskey, we want to have great cocktails, a nice atmosphere with some good food to enjoy all as well.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. That sounds really great. And as far as and again, it's for both of you guys. As far as people want to learn more about what you guys are doing, learn about Station House, the Astorian, Lord Hobo, where's the best place for the audience to do that?
So I would say our Facebook and Instagram are pretty much updated daily with whether what's going on in terms of events or just specials or random posts that we put up. Otherwise, Untapped is always updated in terms of our beer menu whenever a keg kicks and it's changed. I'll also update our events there as well. We have our own webpage, that also highlights the food menu, the entire whiskey list. And if you want to just have the basics in terms of open air and stuff like that, that's probably the best one to hit up. But yeah, our social media is. I think we even have some Snapchat. Not that I Snapchat because I'm too old for that shit. I barely know how to fucking use Instagram. So. But yeah, we have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Apparently, we have all of that stuff. So
okay, all right,
plenty to see and do, I suppose.
I cannot speak to Snapchat either, but Hobo has a very strong social media marketing, branding, online presence. So you can visit the bar, you can visit the brewery. Check out Lord Hobo's Instagram account for all the kind of doings here in New York City, festivals around the country for that matter. And of course, we'll be represented with others at GABF this week. For the Six Most Metal Breweries, you can visit our website. It's www and then spelled out the6mostmetalbreweries.com. There's a form on there to reach out, join the band, tell us your favorite metal breweries, tell us the most metal bars in your hometown, your nearest city. We want to see you on the road, and the goal is to get this show picked up and developed a series so we can travel the country doing it.
Wow.
So you tell us, and we will come to you, my friends.
That's awesome. Perry, any parting comments, questions for our guests?
No, just, always good music. Last time we were here, food was great. Beer's always awesome.
Thank you.
No complaints. Got to come out and check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess the last thing I'll say is there anything else about Station House or about Lord Hobo that we haven't touched on that it's critical for the audience to know? Anything at all?
That's a challenging one, that is. We've gone through a lot already, I suppose.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm not trying to get too political, but we are very friendly to anyone. We don't judge. We love to welcome anyone from all walks of life. We got some Brit wanker who works on the floor and orders their beer. And then we've got some crazy people working behind the bar. We got some awesome people in the kitchen from all walks of life as well. So I think. The fact that it's we are very much a diverse culture here, and we're very much, very inclusive for whoever wants to walk through our doors.
Yeah, I can say, on a similar note, the name Lord Hobo, it's meant to represent that, beer is the great unifier. It is the common denominator. Whether you are a Lord or a Hobo, we all deserve access to quality craft beer.
Absolutely.
And drinking it together for that matter. So, I want to ask you two a question. You always do this in a live setting during happy hour over beers?
Not always happy hour, but definitely live.
Yeah, always a live setting, almost always on location, and the times, they really vary. The dates, the times,
Very, very much enjoy. It's like they're drinking here with us, man.
Yeah,
So,
that's the whole vibe. It's
Thank
like
you
you're
for
drinking
bringing
right.
the audience in. Hell.
Have you got any stories for us? I'd love to hear some rare, crazy stories that you've had during a podcast or just experience at bars and crazy stuff like that.
Oh man, it depends on how the show goes. I mean, some shows were on the level, we're pretty in control. Some shows we've just been drinking all day, and then they bring us in to do a show, and they just give us more beer, and then it's just a shit show, and we're just all over the fucking place. But we come across the most interesting part of the show for us, really. Obviously the beer is great, but it's really about the people behind the beer, their passion, their motivation, why they got into it, and we hear some interesting stories. I don't know about you, Perry, but I never thought we'd be interviewing somebody who owned the bar. Remember the bar in the city? The guy was a former FBI agent.
Yeah.
And it was kind of bizarre. This dude was in the FBI, and he was telling us a story on one night. Someone tried to steal a painting off the wall. They had to chase him down. So, we come across a lot of interesting characters. Some of the shows where we get a little too sauced, it goes a little off the rails, but in a good way. But I think really the most interesting thing is just the different people and, what brought them to craft beer and just their passion. And it's the story behind the beer is great. That's the prerequisite is good beer, but it's the people, the passion, and the motivation behind that beer that really drives the show.
Yeah, and the city's such a melting pot, right? You literally meet people that have been here their whole lives and people that have been here 6 months. And they've come from every, like you said, all walks of life. But they all came here, and the reason we're talking is beer. So
Nice.
It always does turn out to be an amazing thing. Because even though we're enjoying beers together, we're meeting some of the closest people in the city.
Yeah, that's rad.
Like you said, it's the great unifier, the great equalizer. And on that note, that's what we always say: drink local, drink fresh. Repeat. Cheers to our guests, guys. Thank you so much for having us. Thanks for spending some time with
Thanks
us.
for coming
Cheers,
out.
gentlemen. Thank you.
And we'll check you guys on the next one. Cheers.